Hi, I'm Tara.
Hi, it's Karen.
Hi, I'm Kimberly.
Hi guys, my name is Utomi.
Hiya, I'm Rose.
Hi, I'm Prince, and today's question is, should men feel obliged to give their seat to a pregnant woman?
No, I don't think a man should be obliged to give up his seat to a pregnant woman on public transport. But if you don't, and I see you not do it, I will judge you, and so will other people, and it's your decision to make.
So yes, I do think that men should be obliged to get up for a pregnant lady and give up their seat. And I have a few reasons for this. First of which is a pregnant woman has many symptoms that often she doesn't physically show. So for example, morning sickness, breathlessness, these are not necessarily things that you can see. So a man should, if he sees the badge, not assume that she's absolutely fine at 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks pregnant, but be kind enough to offer his seat because you don't know what that person's going through.
Yes, I do feel men should be obliged to give up their seat for pregnant women. I actually think that everyone able-bodied should be obliged to give up their seat in any stage of the pregnancy. In the early stages of pregnancy, there's medical conditions where they feel breathless, they feel very tired, very weak, they can't stand for too long. This is through early stages and the later stages, so you may not see that a woman's pregnant in the early stages, but if she's wearing the badge, I do think you should still give up your seat in the early stages.
Let me throw a quick disclaimer out there first. I personally would always give up my seat for a pregnant lady. However, obliged is a key word, and I don't think any man should feel obliged to give up their seat because you're not sure what situation that man might be in. That man could have a disease himself, he could have a broken leg, he might have fainted at work that day and literally have no energy. Why should that man feel obliged to give up his seat for that woman? If he's an older man, if he's in his 70s or 80s, should he still be obliged to give his seat up for a woman that's pregnant?
I think men should be obliged to give up their seats to pregnant women. I think anybody able-bodied should be obliged to. So that's basically everyone except like old, disabled, whatever. I think pregnant women are going to have to get on the tube. You can't avoid it. You live in London, whatever, you're going to have to get on the train eventually. It's not always possible to plan your day so you miss rush hour. I'm sure they probably try and do that, but there are situations where you're getting on the train, you've got a big bump, it's hot in there, you've probably got swollen ankles, you're tired, you need to sit down.
Personally, I have given my seat to a lot of pregnant women over the years, but I do not feel like someone should feel obliged to give their seat to a pregnant woman because they should have the freedom to do whatever they choose. And if they choose not to give their seat to a pregnant woman, they shouldn't feel offended or like they must do it.
And then later on in pregnancy, maybe where it's a bit more visible, then clearly she's carrying another child, another human in her body. I mean, it's just one of you. Get up, give it a hand, give her a hand.
There's reasons why pregnant women are told to rest and to sit down and not walk for too long. These are medical reasons, so I do think that you should be obliged to give up your seat.
I don't know. I think if you're an able man, then yes, you should give up your seat for a woman. But I don't know if you should feel obliged to. I will always give up my seat. Again, just focusing back to my disclaimer at the beginning, I will always give up my seat for a pregnant lady. However, I don't feel like as a man, you should feel obliged to give up your seat. That's my answer.
It's also dangerous because if you're bouncing around stood up on the train, Lord knows what could happen. Could end up falling over, or God forbid, that's horrible. I think everybody should give up their seats. You spot a pregnant woman. I think naturally when I'm sat on the train, if I've got a seat, as soon as we stop at the station and people get on, I'm looking at who's getting on to see if I need to give my seat up to anybody. I feel like everybody should just do that. You're out there pretending to be asleep on the seat. No, you should look up and see who's getting on the train. Do I need to give up my seat? It's common sense. It's courtesy and being a decent person.